Good morning, guys. Today we're going to talk about team driving, the pros and cons, and this video is dedicated to Gill. So what we're going to do is look at the pros and cons, and we're just going to put everything up here and talk about all of them. So one good thing when you're doing team driving, you can make really good money. So that's why a lot of people do team driving because they can, get the freight there faster. They can make more money doing the team driving. However, you do have to look at the cons when it comes to splitting the money. Um, let's say you're team driving with a friend or family member and, you guys split it 50-50 down the middle. Well, that's all well and dandy. However, what about the bills? You have a truck payment, you have fuel, you have insurance, and any other expenses that you may have. So you guys will have to come up with some type of system. Hey, we split everything down the middle after the expenses. Because if you split 50-50, then who's going to pay the truck payment, and then it can kind of turn into an argument and so forth. Also, you got to have someone who's going to be the executive boss, who's going to make the decisions when it comes down to how that truck is ran, how it is managed. Um, so you got to really think about splitting the money when you're with friends or, family members. Sometimes that can get into a heated argument. I always say nip everything in the bud in the beginning, have something written down, a document, maybe have it notarized. This is how we're going to run this truck. And, leave it like that. I would say after all expenses, hey, we split the money. Because if you split it before, then you're still left with the bills and the expenses and the fuel and so forth. It would be a good idea to have like a company, maybe credit card. So when you guys get fuel for that week, you can use the credit card. And then at the end of the week, or if you're with the factoring company, as they pay you for that load, you can go ahead and, pay that balance off on the fuel. And then at the end of the week, you guys can split, what's left over. Now, a good pro of teaming with your spouse is all of the money stays in the same household. So, if it's you and your wife or your spouse, um, whatever you make, whatever she makes, it all goes into the same household. If you have car notes, if you have, mortgage or rent, you guys are putting everything in the same pot. Um, Now, teaming with strangers or friends, again, what if you don't get along? In the beginning, it may be good, but what happens if you guys fall out? What if somebody has a body odor and, you can't deal with it? And then you also have to think about, how do you sleep? Myself personally, I like it to be quiet. I can't sleep with a TV on. If you're teaming with someone and they snore, then you may be driving, so they're sleeping, but that may, aggravate you. So you always have to think about the strangers or friends when you guys are teaming. You don't want to fall out. They may have a body odor. They may be not very cleanly. So that is something to really think about. But if you're with your spouse, it makes it more enjoyable. You guys are traveling the world together, you're seeing new places. You're probably, maybe in love or, what have you. So it makes the experience a lot better. Now, if you are with your friend, maybe y'all been friends for years, but you never know what someone has a pet peeve about until you live with them. It's kind of like, when you go off to college and then you get an apartment and you become roommates. A lot of roommates are no longer friends because once you live with someone, you never know what the other person pet peeve is. So, you don't want to fall out with anyone. And then strangers, you don't know them from a can of paint. They could be loud talkers, you're trying to drive and they're just talking, or, so I would say if you are going to do the team driving, make sure it's your spouse or someone that you really have a great bond or connection with. Another pro, and we mentioned a little bit about it, is you get to travel the world. You can see new places, you can visit new places, you get to travel the world. Now, if you're not teaming with your spouse and you're with a friend or stranger, traveling the world may be okay, but it's kind of like you're not doing it with someone you want to do it with. And then if you have kids and a family, the con to that is you are away from home. Your family miss you. You may miss birthday parties, holidays, and so forth, even though you may try to make it back home, but you're away from home. If you're single and it's just you and your spouse and you don't have any kids and you travel the world, it'll be so much fun. But, if you're have a family at home and you're teaming, you're going to be away for some time. The next thing, the pro, is trusting each other. You guys have to have trust in each other that, hey, I can depend on my driver to hold his end of the bargain up, basically, his or her end of the bargain. You want to make sure that if you're going to do your 11 hours, then the other driver will be able to do their 11 hours. You don't want to do 11 and they can only do 5 because maybe they don't go to sleep. Maybe they aren't sleepers, or maybe they can't sleep, or, they stay on the phone talking for hours at night when they should be sleeping, or they're on the computer FaceTiming or what have you. You just want to make sure, hey, I'm going to put my 11 hours in and I trust that you're going to do the same amount of time. If you guys can trust each other, that is awesome. Also, having respect for one another. Making sure that, they're going to clean their area or what have you. Just having respect for each other and trusting each other. Again, the bad part of that is having trust issues. If you feel like, hey, I can't trust the other driver for whatever reason it may be, that is not good. So having trust issues would be a con. If you can trust each other, that is a pro. Another good thing about team driving is you guys are able to move the freight faster. Kind of like expedited. So say a load that would normally take a solo driver 2 days to deliver, you guys can get it there next day. Basically, the truck is always moving. The only time you guys stop is to get gas, restroom break, and to get something to eat. Other than that, the truck is always moving. So, of course, you can get a load that's supposed to deliver in 2 days there in 1 day. And, you can make more money because the freight is moving faster. Now, again, when we talk about the trust and issue, let's just say, your partner or driver, they only do 5 hours and they're like, man, I'm falling asleep. I can't do it. So now the freight is going to be there late. So late freight could be an issue. Now you guys aren't able to get that freight there when it was supposed to be there. So now they have to push it back to the next day. So that delayed time will push you back even further into getting another load and to getting, making more money. So either you can move the freight faster or you can have late freight. So that will be the con. Now you have a dry van team and you have a dry van reefer. The difference between a dry van and a reefer is a reefer freight is going to pay more. Okay. You have a refrigerated unit. You're going to use that refrigerated unit to keep something cold or frozen, and their freight is going to pay a little bit more. Now, when people talk about the amount of freight that's available, and I believe we talked about this on another video, look at your Walmart. If you just think about a Walmart store, close your eyes, think about Walmart. 80 to 90% of everything in Walmart comes on a dry van. The only thing that comes on a reefer is your produce section, is your freezer section, is your ice cream. Anything that's in the refrigerated section, that's going to come on a reefer, your produce and everything. But the rest of that store, from computers to clothes to anything that's on the shelf, cookies and canned goods and tires and everything else in the store comes on a dry van. And then you do have the lawn and garden, which that can come on a flatbed, but it can also come on a dry van, especially if it's mulch or wood chips. That can be either or. So when you think about freight, I would say 70 to 80% of the freight is going to be dry van. And then the reefer is going to be your chicken. It's going to be, you know, hamburger meat, your cheese, yogurt, ice cream, dairy products. That's going to be reefer. But if you look in a store, that doesn't take up majority of the store. So dry van, your expenses are going to be cheaper as far as buying a dry van or renting. Your expenses are going to be cheaper and it's more freight available. Reefer, your expenses are going to be a little bit higher because a reefer trailer is more expensive to buy. Now, some reefers are most reefers are versatile where you can put some dry van freight into a reefer, but it depends on the freight. If it is closed, they probably don't want that to go on a reefer just in case if you have a leak, then that would be a claim. Okay, so if it's newspaper or paper products, they do not want that to go on a reefer just in case, you have a leak, that would be a claim. Juice could go on a reefer or dry van. So a lot of guys get the reefers because they can turn the reefer unit off and they can use it to haul dry products as well. And you can do that with some freight out there as well. So basically, getting your trailer just has to be a decision that you and your team driver come up with on how you guys want to run your truck. Do you want to do reefer freight or if you want to do dry van freight? So a few suggestions that we have for you guys is if you're thinking about doing the team driving, just come up with a system or game plan. Put something in writing. Maybe both of you guys can sign off on it. I know it sounds very elementary, but you would never know until you get into a truck with someone. And, the first week or two may go well, but then after that, it can go downhill. So make sure you come up with a system or game plan and you guys stick to it. If you can, try to team up with your partner or spouse. If you have your CDL, maybe you can teach your spouse. Maybe you can teach them how to drive, and you guys could be a team together, living on the road, saving your money. You want to save as much as you can. You can make really good money in trucking, but you will need some type of management to manage your money. So try to save and stack your money. So if your spouse or partner decides, hey, I'm going to do this for 6 months or a year, we're going to save up X amount of dollars, and then I'm going to, start this business, or I'm going to stay home. We're going to have kids. Come up with a system or game plan. And if you can team up with your spouse or partner, that would be great. Again, even if you don't team up with your partner or spouse, stay focused. Keep your eye on the goal or whatever is your end result. If you're doing this, say, hey, I want to stack some money up, and then, my wife wants to start a clothing store, or whatever your goal is, just make sure you stay focused and keep your eye on the goal. Make sure you guys trust each other. Trust plays a big factor. Even if it's not your partner or spouse, and it's a stranger or someone else, make sure you guys have trust and respect for each other. And then also, you can think about solo driving as an option because it doesn't make that much more difference, especially if you are going to be team driving with someone other than your partner or spouse. By the time you guys pay, all of your expenses and split the money, you might as well just be a solo driver. A lot of times the team drivers do well when they're together because all of that money comes into one household. So if you are going to be a team driver, you guys pay the truck note, insurance, fuel. After all of your expenses, maintenance, and you split it, you may want to think about solo driving as an option as well. Last but not least, make sure you save as much as you can. Again, keep your eye on the gold. And guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe. And if you have any questions, if you want us to do a video, if you have any questions, just email us your questions and we'll try to do a video on your questions. Our website is bumblebeedispatch.com. On the website, click on the contact information and you can actually send us an email there. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you share the videos, and thanks for watching.